We're just going to need a block as a prop, and that's more to do with mobility than anything else. We'll come into a seated position. Just allow yourself to take the position of choice. So for me, I find it easy to bring the heels into the groin these days and get the shins down, but I appreciate not everyone has that same range of motion. We sit up as right as we can, pull the shoulders back, start to begin to open the chest and settle the breath. At the moment, I've still got the eyes open, and I'm kind of just checking out how the body feels, little wriggles, movements, etc. Just to kind of find how the body feels. So this is an early morning class for you if you're watching this back on a video. Just remember that you're not going to be able to move as easily in the morning as you will do in the evenings. So a little bit of time to kind of assess how your body feels, where your strengths and weaknesses are going to be physically, mentally, energetically. And then you can kind of take that into consideration in how you approach your class. Obviously, if there's any sharp pains, move out of the pose and adapt the poses to your needs. So you know how it feels on the inside of your body. This is really just a medium for allowing you to know what to do, but you don't necessarily have to follow it absolutely. That said, I'm going to start to close the eyes a little bit because I want to internalize a bit more into the breath. So I'm going to see if I can bring the breath from low down in the belly, right in the pelvis. Allow that diaphragm to start to open up. Allow the breath to move into the ribs. Get a little bit of a lift in the chest whilst the shoulders stay relaxed. A soft, long exhale. I'm noticing that the inhale and exhale are different lengths. As much as you would fill a glass with water, when you turn the tap, the water pressure hopefully is constant all the way through and fills evenly. See if you can allow that to happen with the breath on the way in and also on the way out. So there's a level of control on the breath. It's not a natural breath. It's considered conscious. Perhaps knowing intuitively that the more that we practice this kind of breathing, the more natural it's going to feel, the more easy it will be to tap into it. We open the eyes, allow the hands to come out to the side a little. We'll draw them directly above the shoulders to start with, and then just let the arms float down again. Try to draw the ribs down a little bit as we take the arms high, keeping the shoulders low so they don't lift around the ears. And just seeing how those shoulders feel. Take it into a twist to the left. Rotate through the spine, then let the arms come down as you exhale. Float the arms back up again above the shoulders. Rotate gently through the torso to the opposite side. Hands down again. Inhale. Rotate. And exhaling down. A couple more of those. And bring ourselves back to the center. We'll untangle the legs. I'm going to move off the block. I'm going to use that behind the head just to make it a little easier, really, for me to see the clock. So if you don't feel like having a block behind, that's not a problem. If you do use it, just make sure it's under your head, not pressing into your neck or your shoulders. I'm going to wiggle the feet close in towards the bottom and lengthen the spine away. So I'm going to give a little lift and wiggle through the shoulders. And then we'll take the left leg up towards the sky, turn the toes outwards. We're going to come into a figure four on the exhale, bending the knee, the ankle bone to the outside of that thigh. Let the left leg travel forwards as you come up on the tippy toes of your right foot. On the exhale, draw the belly in and your right thigh towards you. Take another breath in and exhale, squeeze it a little further. Feeling the stretch on the outside of that left hip. We'll take the left hand through the center, right hand around the shin or the back of the thigh to interlace the fingers. I want to keep the spine long and flat. And just enjoy the stretch into the hip. Now, obviously, if you're not feeling much of a stretch in your outer hip, you can draw the knee a little closer in using the strength of your legs and a combination of your arms and shoulders. So rather than pulling the shoulders up around your neck, you press them down towards the floor and draw a little bit of a bend into the elbows. And we can release from there. Untangle the legs, just shake them out a little bit. The foot down, we'll take the opposite leg to the sky. We'll stretch out, turn the toes, bend the knee. Foot stays flexed the whole time. Come up on the tippy toes again, we draw the tummy muscles in. So that left leg is coming towards us. We'll take another breath, another more of a squeeze. We'll take the hands through the center. Make sure to interlace the fingers, get a nice lock around your leg. And again, if you're not feeling the stretch too much, you want to take it a little stronger, and you can do, as we said before, but remembering you want to be able to breathe easily. So if you're gritting your teeth and holding your breath to get a bigger stretch, you're working a little harder than you need to. You can let go a little bit from that. And then we release, extend the leg out, bring the foot down. I'm going to take both feet out towards the end of the mat, and we want the legs to be together on the center line. Take a little breath, and then I'm going to draw the left knee in towards me, hands around the shin. This time, I'm going to draw the knee more towards the center line. I want to lengthen out through the long leg, so pressing the heel and the calf towards the ground a little bit as I press the heel away. So starting to feel the sort of inner groin and the pelvis grinding together a little bit. You get a little bit of compression in the joint. through the bones against the pelvis. We'll take a last breath there and release that foot to the floor. We'll just slide the heel out. It'll be easy for the spine. The hips have a little bit of a wriggle to realign, and then we'll work on the right leg coming in. Hands around the shin. Draw the knee towards the center line. Lengthen out through the left leg. Slide the left heel back in, and we'll bring both knees in, chin in towards the chest. Wrap your arms around your shins into the tightest little ball you can make yourself into. Take a few breaths in. And then we'll roll onto the right side. Use the hands to press into the floor, spin ourselves around. We'll come down to the front of the mat, chin on the mat, feet to either side of that block. And just going to bring the hands down towards the bottom of the ribs for a few rounds of low cobra. So just getting the palms down towards the bottom of the ribs so the elbows are high. Pressing the legs out, rolling the heels a little. Inhale. And just ease your way from the ground. You don't have to come high. Ideally, you still have your bottom rib connected to the floor. Inhale. So virtually no weight in the hands. We're actually just trying to peel the elbows together. Or another way of thinking of this is, imagine you're trying to hold on to a pencil that's sitting between your shoulder blades. Why you want to leave a pencil there, nobody knows. But it works as a visualization. Gives you some sense of what you're trying to move into. We'll come up the last time. Let the hands come out wide, kind of come into gecko pose, so press up position, onto the fingertips. This is an exhale to lift. Draw the tummy muscles in. Let the chest lift forwards and up as much as it comes up. Inhale on the way down. Lengthen the legs away. Come up for the last one. Bring the hands back down to the bottom of the ribs, shoulders and elbows back, press into the hands to lift up. Bring both knees forwards and take them wide, toes together so we can sit back onto the heels. Walk the hands then out slowly into child's pose. Right, so to come up onto the fingertips, walk the hands as far forward as you can. Breathe deep into the ribs, sides of your body. And we lift towards the hands, take them into a side bend to the right first of all. So leaning the body into that thigh. lift slowly and move across to the opposite side. Lift back into the center. Hands onto the front of the mat. Lift slowly into down dog. So I'm just going to tuck the toes underneath. Allow myself to bring the knees more into parallel to each other and then lift them away from the ground. I'm just going to step back into my down dog, use my toes to move the block off to the side. And allow yourself to work into your down dog. Opening pose, think of it that way. We're going to try and warm up the feet a little bit. Those hamstrings, those calf muscles, the lower back muscles, work into the chest and the shoulders if they're tight. So just adapting the pose to your needs. The big bend in the knees will work a little bit more into the shoulders and the chest. If it's all rounded around through the spine. Some people like to be still in their down dog and stretch their hands out and stretch their feet in that way. Just lifting those hips up and back. Working towards a point where your ears feel like they're aligned to your arms. And getting a nice line between your hands, your shoulders, and your hips. Take a breath here. We're going to start to move into a waving plank. So the way we're going to do that is bend the knees deliberately, so the thighs are almost vertical. And then we'll start to draw the tummy muscles in and lift and round the spine up towards the sky. And as you do, you push through the legs gently until you bring the shoulders over your wrists. Then you lift your hips back up into your down dog. Feel the stretch in the back of the legs, and then bend your knees again. Take a breath in. Draw the tummy muscles in as much as you can. You squeeze them in for all you're worth, and allow yourself to come back into that plank. We'll lift back. We'll take 5 of these all together. So soften the knees again. Take a breath. Use an exhale. Right to your spine. Lifting into your down dog. Soft knees. Take a breath. And lift again. Last one. Soft knees. Perfect. We'll come back into that down dog. We'll come into a regular plank, and then we'll bring the elbows down to the ground, so elbow plank. We'll turn the feet over towards the left. We'll allow ourselves to make the right hand away from the floor. So side plank on that left elbow pressing down. Hips are high. Press down through the legs. Let them do the lifting as well as the body. I'll bring the hands back down to the floor as we roll it in. Cross over to the opposite side. We'll come back. Bring the hands back under. Press one hand. Second hand into the plank. Let ourselves move back into down dog. As we do, we'll bring the toes together at the back of the mat. We'll come into pigeon pose, drawing the left knee in towards the body and holding there in down dog for a moment. Squeeze that in. We're going to take the breath in and move the knee to the outside of the elbow. String the heel underneath the groin. Let the shin come down to the floor. Walk the back foot out. Onto the fingertips. Square the hips a little bit more. Allow yourself to walk the fingers in so you've got as little weight in those wrists as possible. You're actually trying to press shins down into the floor and the tailbone as evenly as you can. It's easy to sort of rock a little bit into the side edge of the knee on that back leg. So try to think about pressing that down as neutrally to the ground as you can. tummy muscles in, lifting. Then bring the hands back into the front edge of the mat as a guide. Put the toe on the back foot, lift the knee and the hips, and move it back into your down dog. Raise your feet onto the center line again as you stretch it out. Allow yourself to draw the right leg in. Just holding that in your down dog, stretching out the legs. One more breath. Then inhale, travel forwards, knee to elbow. Swing the foot through and under. Ease your way down and walk the back foot out again. Get those hips down nice and low. Hands come in, so more directly underneath the shoulders. Square the hips, press down, tailbone down, belly in. And so you may be able to get to the point where you get your body upright enough so it's easy to take your hands away from the floor and into prayer, which obviously means you need to work on those abdominal muscles a little more as well. But if you take it too early and you find yourself falling forwards, just be a little careful you don't end up doing a face plant. Seen it before. Now we'll bring the hands forwards again. Put the toe on the back foot. Ease our way back into our down dog. Come into plank and let ourselves come to the floor. So we'll keep the hips high, bend the elbows, shoulders back. Down slowly to the ground. Once you arrive, we want to take the hands out in front, about shoulder distance apart. Now allow yourself to have your chest lifted enough so you can look to your hands really easy without pulling on your neck. And then take the feet about hip distance apart, roll the heels out, press the thighs down and away. Turn the little finger down towards the floor so its thumbs are pointing towards the sky. And on the exhale, draw your belly in. Allow yourself to lift your right arm and left thigh, press down through the opposite limbs, crossing over, and then extending over to the other side. So the chest stays lifted. We're just using the exhales and inhales. Work through. Inhale out. And exhaling down. Try to use the whole of the breath to move through. Last lift. Allow yourself to bring your hands underneath your chin, elbows out wide, and wriggle the hips out a little bit. Just soften the legs off temporarily. Now we'll take a breath in. And on the exhale, we'll bend the left knee towards us to bring the heel in towards your butt. Taking your hand back. Allow yourself to find your bootlaces with the palm of your hand. So your elbow is high, shoulder is drawn back, chest is squared to the front of the mat. With your heel touching your buttock. You can then press your knee away and the thigh down and the hips into the floor. And feel the stretch in the top part of the thigh around the hip flexor. Or maybe in the belly of the thigh on the front. Hopefully the knee joint is happy with that, and the ankles as well. Sometimes you do get a little bit of cramp in your feet as the feet start to get pulled around a little bit. So if you do need to move around, you can do. Almost there, taking a breath for the final time on this side and releasing the foot gently to the floor. We'll swap the hands over and bend the opposite leg. Bring that foot in. Palm to bootlace. Heel towards the sitting bone area of your buttock rather than out towards the hips, so a little bit more centralized in the buttock. You lengthen away, press down gently. And last breath in. And use your exhale to release gently to the floor. Shake it all out very easily. And then we're going to come into bow pose. So we'll bend both knees, bring both heels in, take both hands back. Chin stays on the ground to start with. As you take your hands back and find your ankle joints this time. So you might need to lean around a little bit. Try and bring the thighs back to parallel and the buttocks in towards, the heels in towards the buttocks. Easier to do it that way around. Now we're going to start to press the thighs down into the floor. Take an exhale as you flex your feet, press your shins away. Keep the thighs on the ground at that point. Really try to bury them down into the ground. Let your shoulders open up, squeeze back. Use that to your advantage. Draw the chest forwards and up. On the next exhale, see if you can press the soles of your feet towards the sky, keeping the knees about shoulder distance apart, no more. Ideally, the thighs are parallel to each other. You want to make space in that lower back. So thinking about lengthening the spine up and out. A couple more breaths. And then let everything back down. Now roll to whichever side you prefer to lean on and draw your knees towards you. Draw them in, take a breath, and then exhale. And then on the next exhale, you can lift slowly back up onto all fours. We'll take the knees more to parallel, to distance apart. We're going to sink back gently into child's pose. This is more of a rounded spine. So we're going to bring the hands underneath the forehead, make a couple of little potato fists to whatever height you need. So you can rest your forehead against your hands, elbows out wide. Breathing into the belly and using your diaphragm to stretch out your lower back. Immediately after a bow pose, we need to approach this carefully, hence how we moved away from the ground slowly and in stages. One more breath in. And release. Now the hands to come forwards. We'll lift up. Tuck the toes underneath. Sit back onto the heels. I'm going to take the block and just place that behind the feet. Hands come forwards again. I'm going to take the knees away from the floor. To start with, I want the feet on the ground flat. I'm just going to roll in slowly into a forward bend. Soften the knees as much as you need to get your thighs and belly to meet, and fingers stay on the ground. Now bring the hands onto the hips, soft knees and a flat back. Draw the shoulders and elbows back as you lift up. We'll take the hands high on the breath. Bring them through the heart. Hinge forwards, keeping the belly drawn in, being very pedantic about the weight distribution through the toes as we come down, trying to keep it even all the way through. Hands onto the hips again. That's us to lift up, roll it out. Inhale high. Hands through the heart. Exhale down. Hands onto the hips. This time as we come up, we'll take the arms out wide, but come up onto the tiptoes. Arms together above the head. As you exhale, let the hands come down and the heels come to the floor. Inhaling back up again through the tiptoes. We're trying to move up rather than forwards. And exhale down slowly. So if possible, bringing the heels to the ground as the hands come towards the hips. We'll take 5 of these all together. This is third. Ribs are down. Belly's drawn in. Legs are working. Hopefully those ankles are not wobbling around too much underneath. We'll take one last one of those. And as you come down to the ground, bring the hands in towards your heart. Allow yourself to exhale again down to the floor with that flat back. We'll step the heels onto the corner edges of the blocks and turn the toes out as we sit down into a squat. Taking the arms out wide through the inside of the groins, imagine you're sliding up a wall and coming all the way back up. Hands above the head, in towards the heart, and we'll slide back down the wall. So try to lean forwards as little as possible. Take your time to come down, let your hips open, settle, and then draw the arms back out again. This uses a lot of oxygen up in those big thigh muscles. So you will start to huff and puff a little bit, and you'll definitely get warm. Again, just taking your time so you can really feel the muscle fibers through the whole leg working and supporting the joints rather than just sort of bouncing into the joints and not really working the muscles. They will stretch, but the difference between a work and stretch, and it just claps into the lengthen the body open and out kind of move. In this dynamic class, we want to be able to take the time to draw those tummy muscles in, concentrate on where the breath is, and still be safe. Last time we're going to come up. And last time we're going to come down. Now, make sure to bring your hands forwards. Lift the hips high. Take the heels off of the block as you move into a sort of elongated forward bend. And then take your blocks from between your heels and just out in front of you. Bring hands onto the hips. Let ourselves lift. Now, I was going to ask you to step a little bit further forward so the feet are hip distance apart. And you want to be having the block about a torso's length in front of you. I'd appreciate that as kind of a hit and miss to start with. We're going to take a breath, allow ourselves to hinge down slowly. Once we get halfway, we'll bring the hands out and just adjust the feet in or the block out, whatever we need to do to get ourselves into a nice position where the spine is relatively flat and the legs are straight. Now we're going to soften the knees just a little bit. Allow yourself to take your right foot forwards until your big toe touches the block. Now straighten both legs again and try to draw the tailbone a little bit towards the back of the mat. And just working on pressing down through the feet and beginning to take the weight out of the hands a little bit. Draw the chest forwards, shoulders roll back a little bit. And you're just playing with getting the weight even between the 2 feet. So very much staring at the floor, just ahead of your block. Thinking about where the center line is, how your weight distribution changes even when you breathe in and out. I'm trying to have those hips as square to the front of the mat as we can. So both hip joints, if you think about the point where, so the widest point of your hips, it should be the same distance from the front of the mat. Okay, we're going to soften the knees a little bit. Step the right foot back. Take a breath. Soften the knees. Move the left foot forwards. So with the feet stay about hip distance apart, we gradually work into the legs, straightening them out. Chest lifts. We try and have the groin, belly button, chest, heart, chin on the center line of the mat. Again, just focusing on the feeling you're getting the weight even between two legs. Very much working into sort of micro adjustments here. Okay, we'll soften the knees again. Take the left foot back. Ease the right foot forwards. Keep a bend in the front knee. Allow yourself to bring your hands to your hips and bring yourself up. Now we'll take the hands behind the back and we're going to see if we can hold on to the elbows each arm. So just taking a little time. And then with both legs straight, we're going to start to exhale forwards into the reverse vine fold version of pyramid. So again, we want to try to think about the weight distribution through the legs, squaring the hips. Now, some people will get to the point where their ribs and their thighs do touch. Many of us, that's not going to happen. It's going to be really dictated a little bit by the natural length of your hamstrings to a degree, and any stiffness that you're holding the spine. But we're going to draw the belly in and press back and push down. And try not to grip the floor too much with the toes. So try to keep those relatively relaxed as you press down. Last breath in. We'll soften the front knee and allow ourselves to press down directly through that front shin to lift up. Stepping back, feet realign. And just ease your left foot forwards. Take your time. Allow yourself to centralize. And then on an exhale, start to press down, lean out, belly's drawn in. You could swap the arm hold around if you wish, but this version really just sort of holding whatever feels more natural. Shoulders drawn back a little bit. Yeah, I'm thinking about trying to keep the tailbone, pubic bone, belly button, chest, heart, and chin to that center line. And those micro adjustments firing in as you move around with your breath. Now soften the front knee. Drive through that front shin to lift up. Release the arms. We'll just shake it out a little bit. I'm going to move the block off to the side, out of the way. Allow myself to step to the side of my mat. So my feet are flat to the ground, rather than being on a mat, which I find a little wobbly. I'm going to turn slightly off to the side. It's a little easier to see what I'm doing. We'll load the weight into the left leg, bring the hands in towards the heart. Start to draw the right knee high. I'm going to squeeze that in a little more as I exhale. Take another breath and squeeze that a little further. I'm going to see if I can take the right hand down and hook around the big toe with index finger, middle finger. Let the left hand come out to the side for a little bit of balance as I lift myself back up. Slowly going to extend the leg out and forwards, trying to draw the shoulders back a little bit. Straightest leg I can manage. Press down through the bottom leg. Press out through the heels, lift it a little bit if you can. And then gracefully come back down to the ground. Shake it out a little bit. And then we'll load into the second leg. So hands into the heart. Find your drishti point. Allow yourself to load. Slowly lift the left. Take another breath. Squeeze a little higher. Take another breath. We'll squeeze again. Get as high as we can. Right hand out to the side for that little bit of balance. Left hand hooks. And then on the exhale, lengthen the leg forward, square to the hips. Again, we can release as gracefully as possible. Feet to the ground and step back onto our mats. We're coming towards the front end. Feet parallel. Scoop the arms to the sky on the breath in. Hands into the heart and exhale down to the floor. And take a breath from there and send the right foot to the back of the mat into lunge. Allow yourself to just take a little time to get the leg as long as you can. On the front knee over the ankle, beyond the fingertips. We'll drop the heel to the center line, heel to heel alignment, and we'll bring the hands alongside the body, lifting the chest a little. We'll stretch the right arm forward so it aligns with the torso, and on the exhale, cartwheel slowly back up into warrior two. And on the next exhale, straighten the front leg. Take a breath in. Start to send the hips towards the back of the mat. We're lengthening out for triangle pose. So we want to keep the body lifted. So we're going to bring the hand onto the inside of the front shin. So we can press the back of the hand in to the leg to help turn the chest around a little bit more. Get a little bit of purchase there. So rotate. Lengthen the chest. Crown of the head to the front of the mat. Tailbone backwards. Press down evenly through the feet again. Now we'll soften the front knee. Come back into our warrior two. Take the hands high and rotate gently towards the front of the mat as we spin slowly into a high crescent. We'll soften the back knee a fraction and press out through the heel. Allow the hands to come forward, down to the floor. Step it into the front of the mat so that fold. Allow yourself to deepen on your exhale. Bring the hands onto the hips, all the way back up. We'll take the hands to the sky again, through the heart. Exhaling down to the floor. And we'll send the left foot into the lunge. And take a little time to lower into that hip. Keeping the front knee over the ankle, not ahead. We'll take one more breath here, starting to draw the tummy muscles in. Drop the heel in. Hands alongside the body, a little bit of lift. We'll float left arm through. Slowly lift up on that front leg, pressing in some weight to the back. Straighten the front legs, send the hips out. Lengthen slowly into a triangle pose. Again, just taking the rotation here. And then soften the front knee. We'll come back into warrior two. Hands come high. Rotate slowly. Drop the back knee just a fraction. Press out through the heels. The legs are both strong, not just sitting in joints. We want those muscles to fire up. Ease the hands down to the floor. Step into the forward bend. Sink deep. And as you exhale, hands onto the hips again. Shoulders and elbows back to the lift. We'll inhale high. Hands through the heart. Exhale down to the floor. Take a breath. Right leg back into lunge. And then we'll lower the back knee. Going to keep that on the ground as we untuck the toes. Just keep the hands alongside your body. Keep your ribs and your thighs connected as you extend your arms out. Take a breath, strong through the arms. Draw the belly in. Send the tailbone down. Lift into that low present pose. We'll take the chest to the sky a little bit. Roll the shoulders back and open. And then bring the hands back down to the floor. Put the toe on the back foot to lift the knee. And prepare to lift into warrior two. Hands alongside the body again. So as to float up. Taking a breath. This time we extend out over the front side. So extended side angle. We'll bring the hands down to the floor. Use that arm and leg at the front to counterlever each other into the rotation of your ribs to the sky. Take a breath. Allow yourself to lift slowly into your warrior two. Send the palm on the front hand into reverse warrior. Allow yourself to walk your hand down the back leg a little bit. And come back into your warrior two. I'll take a breath from there. Bring the hands high. Rotate and bring the hands onto the inside of this front leg. Walk the fingers around to the long side of the mat. We'll take a breath here as you turn your toes in and prepare to allow a hang over the hips and down. Try to squeeze the elbows a little together. Keep the hands shoulder distance apart and broaden the back of your shoulders so you can work into the upper part of the body as well as the legs in this pose. One last long breath. And then we'll lift up. Walking the fingers gently through to the front of the mat. Go back into lunge. We drop the back knee down to the floor and untuck the toes. Right hand into the ground. We'll take the left hand up for the twist. Draw the hand back onto the base of the spine, palm faces in. Squeeze the front knee in towards your body as you press down through that bottom hand and lift your chest to the sky. Take a long breath in. Sweep the arm back over. Down to the floor, tuck the toe on the back foot. Allow yourself to step back into your down dog. Take a breath, draw your right knee in towards your body. And take your foot to the outside of that front hand and drop the back knee. Untuck the toes on the back foot. We're going to take the left hand a forearm distance forwards to bring the elbow down to the ground underneath the shoulder. We'll let the knee hang out to the side as we roll onto the side edge of the foot. Taking the right hand to the sky. We'll bring the hand back down to the floor. Let ourselves lift the back knee. Now we're going to drop into a squat at the front of the mat. So we're just going to press off the back feet, keep the bottoms low, step through so the feet are wide of the hands. Let ourselves hang down into a ragdoll position and then roll through the spine, drawing the belly in. And then zigzag the toes back on as the hands come high. Bring the hands above and then into the heart. Hinge down to the floor. Take a breath. Extend your left leg back into that lunge. Allow the back knee to drop down into the floor. Hands alongside the body again. Float the arms forwards. Stretch out. Send the tailbone down to the floor, lift up. Open the chest. Look towards the ceiling, just a fraction. Bring the hands back down to the ground. We're going to lift into warrior two, so walking the heel in. Hands alongside the body. Left arm comes forwards. We float up. Take a breath and then extend out over the front thigh. Bring the hand down to the floor. Leg and arm working together, pressing into the back foot as well. And on the exhale, we'll lift away from the ground, strong front leg. Warrior two, we'll turn the palm, reverse our warrior. Back into warrior two. Hands come high as we breathe in and onto the inside of this front leg. Pull the fingers around to the long side again. Turn the toes in. Fold. Squeeze the elbows in. Nice breath in. Use the exhale to lift. Move the hands around to the front end of the mat. We'll take a twist here. Back knee down to the floor, so that right arm comes up. Hand comes on to the base of the spine, and rotate a little more. Draw the knee in towards the chest. Press down through the bottom hand. Lift the hand back up. Allow yourself to come back. Step back into your down dog. Draw your left knee and take your foot to the outside of the mat. Put the back knee down. You're going to take your right hand forwards, distance to bring your elbow underneath your shoulder. Allow yourself to take the twist. Let the knee rock out to the side. Come onto that side edge of the foot. So much more open in the joint. Bring the hands back down to the floor. Lift the back knee. Remember, we're going to take the foot to the front of the mat into that low squat. Sink down into our ragdoll position. Take the breath in. Use the exhale to lift that way back up. Zigzag the toes back in. Bring the hands in towards the heart. We'll exhale down to the floor. Put the back with right and left into down dog or jump, your choice. We'll come forwards into plank. Half plank, pushing forwards on the tiptoes. Up dog. Roll it up to the sky. Back into your down dog. A breath in. We'll lower the knees to the ground. Spin the feet out to the side. Take a flat block. Place that underneath to the bottom. Not absolutely necessary, but most of us will like it. We'll bring the feet together. Sit up nice and tall. Just move the real flesh around a little bit. And we'll bring the right heel into the groin, knee to the ground. Side turns up from the long leg. Little bend in the knee. Janushirshasana will lift up through the spine, shoulders back, nice and broad. Exhale forwards. We'll take it to belly to thigh. Take another breath. Start to bring the top of the ribs in. Take another breath. Let the chest come down. Extend the hands out around the sole of the foot if you can and square your rib cage to the ground. You'll know what I mean. If your ribs are out of shape, you definitely feel one higher than the other. If you can't reach the sole of the foot, just hold on to the sides of the ankle. That's exactly the same. Nice breath in, we'll release. Bring our way back up. We'll cross over to the opposite leg. Little bend in the knee. Hands onto the shin. Fold it forwards. We'll come in those three stages again. So belly, breath in. Ribs. Breath in. Chest. Take a breath in. Slide the hands out. You're just drawing yourself towards the front of the mat. Forget about round or down. Square the ribs to the floor. Last breath in. Hands to the ground to lift back up. We'll take both legs out and we're going to come into Shavasana. We've got about 4 minutes left. So again, I'm going to use the block underneath my body just so there's less strain on my neck to lift and look towards the clock. So you don't need that there, but you can use it if you like. Again, just making sure it doesn't press into the neck or the shoulders. Wriggle the shoulders out, wriggle the hips out. And then use your toes to guide your feet towards the end of the mat. Now, palms out to the side, about a ruder's distance. Slide the heels all the way to the end of the mat. And then let your legs just roll open to wherever they fall. Arms face upwards. Eyes closed, jaw soft. Allow yourself to think about your breath and your heart. See where they are. Notice how long they take to slow down, if at all. Allow yourself to float on that mat. And we'll start to stretch those fingers and toes. Breathe a little deeper. And the wrists and ankles to begin to move. And then take a delicious breath, whatever it feels like, whatever your body needs. And then when you're ready, just slide the heels along the floor to bring the knees closer towards you. And then let those knees one leg at a time drop in towards your body as you take your hands around the shins and give yourself a very gentle rock or stir of the hips for the easiest, softest hug you can make available to yourself. Take a final little breath in, and on the exhale, conscious of where we are, we're rolled onto our sides, let the legs relax, lift the hands into the floor, and lift the weight gently back up to sitting. Sitting tall, we bring hands into the heart. Closing the eyes, we'll take a longer breath in. Begin to exhale slowly, we'll let the chin drop. Feeling the belly drawn to the spine, the softest of bows to seal our practice. And with the breath coming back into the body, we'll let it build the spine forward. Feel the head lifts and the eyes open. Namaste. Thank you for joining me. Hope you enjoyed. See you again on the mat soon.